Millions of families and professionals will touch the child welfare system this year alone, and it's the same every year. And this is the truth. Our system is complicated, it's confusing, and it's difficult to navigate. I'm your host, Shanelle Dupree, and this is Navigating Child Welfare. Because I don't know anyone who has navigated a system confused and has achieved the best possible outcome. And the outcomes are not just simple metrics. We're talking about families, we're talking about communities, and we're talking about impacting generations. So hug your loved ones a little bit tighter and let's dive in to make connections, gain clarity, and navigate the child welfare system well. I talk a lot about how important it is to connect with others in the child welfare system, especially people who are working within the system and are working on behalf of families. And it sounds really simple, connect with others and things will be better. But the truth is, it can take some intentional work, and there can be barriers that exist to connecting well on behalf of families. Like I talk about in Sinking Child Welfare, which is a 360-degree perspective of the child welfare system, and it provides practical tools and questions and worksheets for staff who are working in and around the child welfare system. Connection is vital, and connection is vital because we can't do this work alone. Anyone who thinks that they can do this work alone, anyone who thinks that they can serve families alone, anyone who thinks that they can serve their own families without being connected to someone else is sadly mistaken and likely highly stressed. Highly stressed. I remember I was in court one time and a judge was telling a parent that they needed to do all of these things on their own. They needed to figure out housing, they needed to figure out childcare, they needed to, do all of these things by themselves. And what I told the court was, Judge, I don't do it by myself. No one does this by themselves. And so to expect for this parent who needs support, just like anyone else, to do this by themselves while they're also engaged in this highly complex, emotionally driven, and just difficult situation is unrealistic. And so when we think about the work, people who are working within the system, it requires connection and it requires good connections. And in the Sinking Child Welfare program, I'm talking about the 10 different entities and organizations that are involved in child welfare that we need to connect well with. We know connection is important when we are working with families, but what are the barriers to those connections, to connecting well? And we'll continue to talk about what those barriers may or may not be. But one of them, I would say, is not understanding all of the systems connected to child welfare. And I say that just from personal experience. When I was working in the system, representing families, I thought that it was good enough for me to understand my job and my role as an advocate, as someone who is representing children's best interests, representing parents, representing aunts, uncles, cousins, all those folks within the system. I thought that I needed to understand the court process, the court procedure. But then my clients began coming to me talking about how they weren't able to get a therapy appointment, or how they got the list from the worker, but no one's accepting new clients, or there's an absorbent amount of money and they're saying there's not money in the budget to pay for this assessment that's required on their case plan. And then what is the case plan? And do I go to that meeting? And how can I help support my client in these different spaces? And so what I found early on is that in order to do my job well, I needed to just understand what other parts of the system, plural, my client was going to be touching. Housing is always typically an issue or a barrier within child welfare. How can I become aware of at least the right questions to ask, right? The right person to connect with. I don't need to know all the answers. I don't need to know everyone's job, but I do need to be aware of how my client is going to be interacting with these other systems. And when we think about where we sit and the positions that we're in and how we're wanting to help and wanting to serve, man, there's nothing better than actually helping. Nothing better than actually helping. I don't know about you, but I have been on many calls with, let's say a phone provider or something like that, where they will ask me to complete a survey to talk about how they were, and I'm like, you don't want me to complete this survey because you all were not helpful. And when someone is not helpful, it's not a great feeling. But this is the truth. What I saw in the system was my clients would at times be asking their worker questions that I needed to answer as their attorney, or they would ask me questions that were really for their worker to answer. And so I became aware of that and could help navigate and guide them on that. And then once I started teaching the class, Sync 101 parents, what a part of the class was helping parents to even identify what questions to ask and to who. Like, who can answer this question? Because the other thing is, there's nothing more satisfying than having your question answered, like being confused, being overwhelmed, not knowing where to start, and then someone can just come in and provide guidance, whether it's the answer, whether it's where to start looking. And that's what I know many people that work in the child welfare system want to be. They want to be good helpers, they want to be connectors. If they can't provide the answer, they want to connect families with someone who can. And they may have questions, right? They may need answers, they may need guidance on how to navigate these various systems. And so there are barriers to connecting well, but we want to eliminate those barriers. And that's why I'm so excited about Syncing Child Welfare, which again is a 360-degree perspective of the child welfare system. It's providing awareness of those 10 different connected systems and then how to connect well with them. So, this is an opportunity. If you are a child welfare leader, professional, decision maker, and you are interested in introducing a system, a process, a framework that can help you as an individual, you as an organization, connect well to the child welfare system and those families and professionals involved in it, I want to invite you to click the link below in the show notes and to learn more. We are launching in 2026, and I am so excited to share with you a way to connect well with families and the community and to simplify your navigation in the child welfare system. Our mission is to simplify systems and connect communities. If you are interested in learning more about the Syncing Child Welfare Program, click the link in the show notes to stay updated. I'm excited to stay connected to you.